Hi, this is Ruth Theresa with One Inspiring Woman, and today we're going for a ride and chat, but I've already parked. Go figure. Go figure. But one of the things that's kind of like come up a couple of times, I think I've told y'all a few times, I have several clients going through some type of divorce. Some of them are just choosing to separate. Some of them are literally going for the paperwork and all the signatures and, that sort of thing. And to me, that's, that's their choice. They chose to marry that person or not marry that person or whatever it is. And now they're going through the proceedings to kind of, cancel, reject that other person for whatever reason. But I think it's kind of interesting that the majority of them are going through this because I will say 90% of them, the husband has cheated. And I just think it's interesting, why would you get in a relationship and cheat? Why wouldn't you get out of a relationship? And I've kind of thought about this many times because I think some cultures are actually kind of almost expect their husbands to cheat. And I've been told that by many different people, that they almost expect their husbands to cheat. It's almost kind of like an unheard of, we just expect our husbands to cheat. And to me, I'm like, interesting. I personally would never expect my husband to cheat. And so it's kind of interesting to think of, you're going into a marriage where you're vowing not to cheat, not to look at other people, whatever it is, and you expect your husband to cheat. Totally bizarre to me. And I just think it's different cultures and the way they're raised and that sort of thing. And it's not anything bad. It's just one of those, that's an interesting phenomena. But then now, years later, they have kids, they have things going on, and a couple of them have gotten to where they own their own business and they don't really require their husband's salary to make ends meet. I'm kind of okay. And they're going, I'm not going to deal with his cheating butt again. And I'm like, okay. And I think that's just really interesting that when they really felt secure in their life, that they're actually choosing to divorce this person. And the other part is kind of now that you're settled and now that you're in a secure place and money's rolling in and that sort of thing, you're willing to leave this marriage. But the other part is it's kind of interesting, odd, that the husband is almost they're mad that the wife is no longer willing to put up with their cheatingness. I'm like, when was cheating okay? When was that okay? I don't know. And I will say it's not just they cheated one time. Some of these husbands have cheated 20 or 30 or 50 times. To me, that's maybe they don't want to be married, but now that they're going through divorce, they're doing everything they possibly can to keep that marriage going. Okay, interesting. Why are you fighting for something that you've been fighting to get out of? Kind of to me, it's if you're cheating, you're really trying to do things to make your marriage fall apart. And they're kind of mad that their wife is not forgiving them one more time. Their wife is not just letting this go like she's done in the past. I just think it's a really interesting phenomenon for most people. And I think that's kind of the interesting part, that just kind of interesting. Why now? And I think a lot of it had to do with COVID and, kind of the world closing down in 2020 of do I really want to stay married to this person that doesn't treat me well or cheats on me and that sort of thing. I'm not willing to put up with that anymore. And like I said, a lot of the women have gone out and started their own business, and so they make good money now with their own business. They're, got things going on, and it's, I'm not willing to put up with this anymore. I just think it's kind of a sign of the times, wow, this is really interesting, where 30, 40 years ago, people didn't do that. Like, they might have cheated and they'd have to go through therapy and counseling or whatever else to kind of work through things. But they're not even trying to work through things. They're just kind of like, I'm freaking out. Like, I'm checking out of this. This is not where I want to be. This is not what I want to do. This is not how I want to live my life. And they're walking away. So I don't have any like big aha moments with this. It's more kind of like thinking about things, because I think it's really been interesting talking to these women as they're kind of working through their part of it and kind of healing themselves and moving forward. It's interesting that they're not willing, like you put up with it for years and now all of a sudden you're like, I'm out. I think the other part is a lot of them like have felt it in their energy. Like, I know that he's cheating. I have felt it for many, many years. And then all of a sudden they'll kind of come back and go, I want proof. And I'm like, interesting. Because you've kind of had like the proof, like the psychic side of things. Like, you've had that proof for a while, but now you want physical proof. Like, you want a picture of him doing the deed with someone else, or you want the picture of him kissing someone else, or whatever it is. And I think that was interesting too. Just kind of, like I said, kind of working through all of this, because I have seen this for so many people for so long. It's kind of like, what would make you finally call it quits in your marriage? What are you willing to put up with in your marriage? That's completely different too. Like, what are you willing to put up with in your marriage? Kind of an interesting, just new thoughts, new ideas, and kind of some new changes for a lot of people. Definitely. I thank you for joining me today, and I know that we'll be talking again soon.